But from the beginning, there was a problem, and that is there were two Marys in the tomb. Well, that fit the story because everybody knows Mary, the Virgin Mary, and Mary Magdalene. But the problem was the one named Maria fit the mother, but the second one in the tomb didn't fit because it said Mary. It was a Greek version. One is a Latin version, and one is a Greek version. Because you have to understand, 25%, 1/4 of the women living in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago, at the time of Jesus, were called Miriam. So if you were in a marketplace, yeah, Miriam, 1/4 of the women would turn their head. So when you have that many Miriams, you have to differentiate them by giving them little nicknames. You know, Miriam, you know, the blue-eyed Miriam, or you know, the tall Miriam, or the short Miriam, or whatever. So that's what you find in the New Testament. There's always Mary with a little explanation, right? To differentiate that Mary from this Mary. Mary Magdalene. Well, what does Mary Magdalene mean? Mary Magdalene means Mary from the town of Magdala. So it's like saying so-and-so the New Yorker or so-and-so the Torontonian, right? It's not a name. It's just, if there's a lot of Marys around, you know, you want to differentiate Mary the New Yorker from Mary the one from San Francisco. You know what I mean? You just want to differentiate. That's what Mary Magdalene, that's not her name, right? That's not what they would put on her tombstone, on her ossuary. So what's her name? You know what I did? It's really crazy. My friend Ron Pappin and I, you know what we did? We Googled it. Because I said, gee, in the tomb you have Mariamne. It's a Greek version of Mary. So you have a Latin version and a Greek version. I never heard of Mariamne. I'm not a New Testament scholar. Let's Google it. We Googled it. Guess what? Mary Magdalene. Her real name, according to scholars, is it's Mariamne. Hello? Mariamne. Exactly the name that we found in the tomb. And where do they get this name from? Well, Greek Orthodox Church to this day calls Mary Magdalene Mariamne. But you could say, well, that's because they speak Greek. So of course we say Mary because we speak English. In Origen, one of the church fathers, he calls her Mariamne, which is a version of Mariamne. Pista Sophia's, another text, Mariamne. And recently, in the Acts of Philip, which was just found in 1970 and published in French, not in English yet, in 1996 by Professor Bovon of Harvard, it says her name is Mariamne, no question about it. Mom's name is Maria. And not only that, the Acts of Philip give us a character profile of Mary Magdalene. They don't talk about her as an ex-prostitute. Nowhere. That doesn't say, that's not in the New Testament. That's kind of stuff that people kind of put on 600 years after she was dead, 400 years after she was dead. Oh, she was an ex-prostitute. That's one way to diminish somebody. But in the Acts of Philip, it doesn't say, in the Gnostic Gospel of Mary Magdalene, it doesn't say anything. In the New Testament, it doesn't say. In the Gospels, it doesn't say she's a former prostitute. Nowhere does it say that. It's a much later tradition that a male-dominated church came up with. It doesn't say that. Well, in the Acts of Philip, for example, which is this 4th century text of an earlier text that, that was left out of the New Testament, what does it say about Mary Magdalene? It says she was an apostle. She was a master. She was a healer. She was a leader. So her name was Mariamne, and she was a master. What does it say on our ossuary in the Talpio tomb? It says Mariamne the Master.